Well, see, lethal protector in the bathroom would be a good bathroom raid.
It would be good to have a lethal protector in the bathroom, especially if you're going to be attacked. Most wounds in the bathroom are self-inflicted, though. Let's face it.
Nerdrotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast, episode 110. My name is Gary Buechler. I am live in San Francisco, California. I come to you from Nerdrotic.com. And as always, I am with my good friend down in San Diego, soon to be moving, hopefully, Dennis Bithoulkas. What's up?
Yes, I'm going to be an El Cajon. Wait, that's not right.
An El Cajonian? What's an... It's the box.
Yes.
That's what it is. So what's in the box? Well, yeah, it's a very exciting time for Dennis. Home ownership is wonderful. The process is probably like, I don't know. No, I don't want to equate it to giving birth. That's disrespectful though. It's like a bad movement. We'll just say it really is like a 45-day, especially that escrow. It's bad. Tonight, or depending on what time you're watching or listening to this today, we've got like 4 pretty amazing subjects here, Dennis. Where do you want to start? We're going to spin the wheel. We've got Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Morbius at Sony, or Brian Michael Bendis going to DC.
Let's do Brian Michael Bendis.
Let's start out with Brian. Yeah, this is I've been around this comic book industry for a little while. Might have mentioned I used to own a shop
back in the old days.
I don't find this that surprising, to be honest with you. I know it's gotten a lot of headlines and stuff, but this isn't shocking in the least bit. I think it is he hit the lifeboat from a sinking Titanic. There was enough room for him, unlike Leo, on the in the boat, and he is escaping
on the door.
Yeah, on the door, and he is escaping. He is getting his ass off the Titanic before it completely sinks. That's the way I see it anyway. There is I think he's being really honest in his tweets when he says, you know, he needs a creative spark, you know, and he's run his course at Marvel. He's been there for 20 years. Yeah. I think it's time. And I think he can probably do something different at DC, tell some different stories, but you know, I'm the same age as him. And especially when you've been writing that long, writing superheroes that long, he is way past his prime. I love the man. I've met the man on many occasions. He has great taste in music and he's super nice. And he's done great work. He's done fantastic work. He's a classic writer. And he might be able to squeak out a couple of cool stories at DC, but he was definitely done at Marvel. His time at Marvel, just the last few years of his books have not been his best.
Well, supposedly there's a couple other writers that are probably going to be jumping ship too. So I'm thinking Matt Fraction might be out there, going out fairly soon. He's already been over at Image for a little, you know, doing some stuff over at Image.
Yeah, he's doing his own thing now. I think Fraction is done with DC and Marvel. He might go back and do some other stuff, but he's trying to do his own imprint and trying to do a production company, I believe. I think this had everything to do with Kevin Feige pulling him off of the consulting thing for the MCU. I think that's my sources tell me, my one source who knows him says that has pretty much everything to do with it. And what it is he sees Mark Millar signing deals with Netflix.
Yep.
He sees Jeff Loeb producing all the TV shows. He was in the inner circle. Him and Quesada and Joss Whedon and a couple of other writers, who I'm forgetting their names right now, were part of the cabal that helped build the MCU. Edgar Wright, Jon Favreau, and then there was some comic guys involved too. Matt Fraction, I believe, Brubaker was involved, and Brubaker's off. Brubaker wrote an episode of Westworld, one of the better episodes. Brubaker belongs. He's a great writer. He belongs. Yeah. I still think comics is a great destination. It shouldn't be poo-pooed. But as far as like making money, you're not going to make money as a comic book writer. You know, you're going to make money as a screenwriter, and Bendis can do it. I think he's definitely talented. He's got a show. He's got a show on the PlayStation Network. I don't know if it's still going or not. That you liked, Powers.
Yes, I like Powers. Actually, it was pretty good. I don't know if it's still going either. To tell you the truth, I haven't checked in to see where it's going, because it was really good for a while there, and then I kind of forgot about it because
it's on the PlayStation Network.
It's on the PlayStation Network, so it's kind of forgetful, I guess you could say, and yeah.
So, but like the CBS All Access and Disney All Access is going to work, which they'll work better than the PlayStation Network. Don't get me wrong. Just don't think these things are going to work all the time. Okay. They cost a ton of money to keep going. Okay. And then, that's a whole other thing I can get into, but we'll get into it later. Brian Michael Bendis wanted to be involved in the movies, was taken off. You can't argue with Kevin Feige on taking the consulting and getting Marvel Comics out, because it's actually grown since he's left. On the other side of that, though, an argument could be made that it's gotten a little stale too. But I think that's just because of the amount of movies that have come out. Now, Thor changes that, because I'm in agreement with you. The more I think about Thor, like, that really is probably one of my favorite comic book movies. It is, because it's a comic book. It's a goddamn comic book. It starts out with like Doctor Strange appearing, and then you don't see him again, but it totally works. It's just, everything about it was great. They had so many superheroes in it, and it all worked. So, with Bendis, he just wanted to be part of that crew. He got, he was in. It sucks when you're in the circle and then you're out and you're back. It feels like, and it was him kind of going backwards in life.
Yep.
And he's got a kid now, and creatively, you want to have that inspiration. And he had clearly lost it at Marvel. So I think this is a really good move for him, and I don't think it hurts Marvel at all. To be honest with you, because I think they were paying him a lot of money and they wanted him off the books. Did you see him fighting to keep him?
No, they didn't fight to keep him. That's for sure. But honestly, yeah, you're right. His stuff of late hasn't been that great. And but then again, neither is Marvel's stock right now. What was it? I just saw that out of the top 10 books that sold for October, DC was the top, was in the 7 of them. Marvel only had 3.
That is unheard of.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And DC has really turned it around. They were in the crapper when, in the waning years of my store, before I sold it. And
Rebirth, the New 52, all that.
You know what? Because a lot of the stuff they were doing then is exactly what Marvel is doing now.
Yeah.
They were changing characters that didn't need to be changed. They had no direction. They restarted a universe just to restart it. The New 52 was crazy. It restarted something in the middle. It made no freaking sense. And Convergence was the one I was talking about the last podcast, where they kind of brought everything back together, and that's what's led to Rebirth, and it's really worked for them. And I know it's not part of it. I don't know if you've read Mr. Miracle, Dennis, and
I did read the first
by Tom King. That was really good. That was good. It's not really part of this, and it's very Watchmen like, but it's still freaking good. I think it like plays to people our age, to be honest with you. But I also want to say, like, a character I haven't really given a crap about ever, Nightwing, I'm reading and loving right now. Batman White Knight is amazing. It's a weird take and wonderful, and they're just the best right now. DC's just the best, and I say that as a total Marvel head, so or a Marvel zombie, what we used to be called.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bendis will help or hurt him, to be honest with you, because they don't need him, but why not? It's an embarrassment of riches, maybe, if he still has his A game. Do you think somebody like Mark Waid would be far behind?
I don't know. Mark Waid seems kind of set in his ways.
Yeah, he does.
So, Tom King, by the way, you were just mentioning him about Mr. Miracle. He was the one who wrote the Vision series for Marvel.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember who wrote that series. That's what I was just looking up there. But yeah, you definitely need to read that if you want to read something that's really damn
No,
good.
I heard that was really good. That is next on my
Yeah.
list. John and I and Dennis are still throwing around kind of what we're going to start reviewing comics. And I don't know if we're going to do that on Facebook or here on the station. And I kind of decided on what I'm going to do. What do you got there?
I've got Cowboy here from Archaea Comics. It's a good little read.
Yeah, I think for my first review, I'm going to do the first comic book I ever read. So that'll be Marvel Team Up number 42. And I think John is probably going to do Runaways, which will be just in time for us to recap the show. That's
a surprise.
Well, I love the first series, the tsunami one, was freaking brilliant. But yeah,
it's a good book. I'm just saying for him to read that, it's a big surprise.
No, this is my surprise face. You can't see it on if you're listening, but I'm not really surprised. Our friend John, our co-host John, is wonderful, and he really likes the YA stuff. Okay, we're a mixed bag here at Nerdrotic. Okay, yeah, that's what's good. Dennis and John and I have 3 distinct different tastes in things, which is good. It works. Yes, definitely. I have good taste, and those guys mediocre, but that's okay.
That's funny. I was just about to say the same thing.
Sure.
That I have good taste.
Yeah, we all think we do, but yeah, I have the best taste. Brian Michael Bendis, I wish you all the luck in the world. One of the greatest stories I have with him is my wife and I got married on Halloween in Las Vegas back in 2003, and we coincided it so we could catch a little Star Trek thing that was going on while the Star Trek experience was going on. We got married by the Grim Reaper, and there was also a Comic-Con. So we had like the best time. And Brian Michael Bendis, I'll never forget, was sitting by himself. They announced that he was there, and they're all, Brian Michael Bendis is now signing Daredevil, da-da-da-da. And like I walked over, and there's like no line. So me and him chit-chatted for 40 minutes. Basically we talked about old 80s punk rock for 40 minutes, but it was cool. And he signed a bunch of my Daredevils, which I still have. And just a good guy. I know he gets some criticism from some of the comic guys I follow. It is valid criticism. You could separate the person from the work. You can critique the work all day long. And I will, as an Iron Man fan, I do not like what they've done to Iron Man. And that's a reasonable criticism. But as a person, good guy, wish him all the luck in the world. I do. So while we're still on Marvel here, Dennis, let's go to our version of reading between the lines with this headline. So Sony is going to do a Morbius movie, and it may or may not involve Tom Holland, which is the exact same thing we heard about Venom, correct?
Well, it might. The Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, it might not involve those movies. So yes, they're being coy about it, whether or not it's in the MCU, because we know that the Tom Holland Spider-Man is in the MCU, but we don't know if this Morbius or the Venom are actually in the MCU or even in the Spider-Man universe.
Well, Venom is not taking place in the MCU at all. It will not have Tom Holland nor a mention of Spider-Man. That's a fact. Now, when they first talked about Venom, there was that co-interview with Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. You might know Amy Pascal.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2016. That Amy Pascal. She was part of the Sony hack. She was the CEO of Sony Pictures, and she was unceremoniously shown the door after she had some pretty racist comments about our president at the time, President Barack Obama, if anybody was paying attention back then. And she was shown the door, but in a very shrewd business move, showing that this lady knows Hollywood, she put herself in charge of the Spider-Man property before she got. So her production company runs the Spider-Man property. So she basically made herself a co-CEO at Sony Pictures because that's their biggest property. Then she worked a deal with Kevin Feige. I think Kevin Feige made a deal with the devil. A lot of people think it's the other way around. Kevin Feige made a deal with the devil with this woman. because of the crap she's pulling now. She's going to single-handedly ruin the MCU. Okay, so if you make a Morbius, so now Venom cannot be used in the MCU with the way they're using it. They cannot use Venom in the MCU. So Morbius, one of Spider-Man's better villains that we've all been kind of waiting to see, because he's, the one thing about Spider-Man villains, people like look at them as silly, but they're really layered. Not all of them are just true villains. A lot of them are good guys who got, it's very Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the villains, with Spider-Man villains. I would love to see him take on Morbius. I would dying to see him take on Kraven the Hunter, who I personally think is his best villain. And I would love to see him.
Morbius is the first character that was it was Spider-Man 101, and that was the first issue that was not written by Stan Lee.
Yes, and it was a fantastic issue, by the way.
Yep.
And it's going to suck that he's not going to be in MCU interacting. So I'm going to ask you this: do you want to see a Morbius solo movie with no mention of Spider-Man?
But not with the no mention of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I would see a Morbius solo movie if it was within the Spider-Man universe, but not like this.
Morbius is better made for a television show. I think it would be a better television show, and it would have to be within the Spider-Man universe. Without Spider-Man, he's just another damn vampire.
Okay. Well, only if he fought crime with a wise talking.
No, it's a Spider-Man villain that's thoroughly connected to the Spider-Man universe. Okay, he's never been able to do anything solo. You can probably mesh him with the supernatural characters if you wanted to bring it, but they can't. See, they can't like team him up with Ghost Rider or Brother Voodoo or the Man Thing or Werewolf by Night or Doctor Strange. It's Sony trying to assert their control over Spider-Man. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's a very thinly veiled
this attempt. Is going to turn into a crap storm. Marvel or Sony sees that Disney/Marvel is collecting their characters back. They're making a very bold move to bring everybody back in. We have it from a very good inside source, our co-host, who may or may not have done some work for Disney, that this is happening, and this is happening within the next couple of years. So, and in all of these contracts, Disney does have a way to get their stuff back. It's just going to cost them a lot of money. Okay. That's eventually going to happen, especially when they go for their streaming network. They're going to want to have everybody in-house. So look for that to happen. And this connects to the Fox thing too. Everybody just assumed it was Fox selling to Disney. What I've heard, it was Disney making an offer to Fox. So, yeah. Who knows? I know that Rupert Murdoch with Fox wants to get rid of, wants to sell Sky News and Fox News together. And that's separate. So I don't know. I think there's still a very good chance that Disney could get just the X-Men. That's what I would prefer. I'd hate for them to buy Fox. I just think that'd be too big of a company and a monopoly and crap.
Well, they even say there's no way that they could do it legally.
No, there's absolutely no way. But if they could get Fantastic Four and X-Men back, that would be great. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
With this Morbius idea, no. And you can hear this. You're going to hear Sony. Sony was going to make an Aunt May movie, and they were dead serious about it. You're going to hear a bunch of ideas out of Sony, but once this Venom movie with my favorite actor in it, did I just say Tom Holland? Tom Hardy. When it flops, you're going to see. You'll see that movie's going to die.
I love seeing all the photos from the set of just Tom Hardy sitting there reading.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all those pictures I've seen. It's another picture from the set, and he's just sitting there reading.
Yeah, it looks like he's like in a wood shop or something like that. Like, what are they doing? I don't know, dude.
I don't know, but all his Twitter pictures are just all of him reading, and it's like, okay, are you actually on set, or are you just, reading?
Yeah, reading Venom comics, which I have. I have a Lethal Protector without Spider-Man. Venom without Spider-Man.
Well, see, Lethal Protector in the bathroom would be a good bathroom raid.
It would be good to have a Lethal Protector in the bathroom, especially if you're going to be attacked. Most wounds in the bathroom are self-inflicted, though. Let's face it.
See, we go
Okay.
for the Twilight humor here.
Yes, we do. Yeah. So
Quite
Amy
literally.
Pascal is like, her being in charge of Spider-Man is probably there is one person worse to be in charge with Spider-Man. Unfortunately, he is the CEO of Sony Pictures. His name is Tom Rothman.
Oh, I
So
thought you were going to say Jeff Loeb.
no, you know what? I would take Jeff Loeb over Tom Rothman and Amy Pascal any day. Any day. Any day. I would watch me some Inhumans over anything produced by Tom Rothman.
Oh,
you heard me. You freaking heard me. So next subject. This is one near and dear to my heart. I am very happy about this, and I'd like to make some very early predictions. So Lord of the Rings, we've talked about last podcast, is going into production at Amazon, and they have agreed to multiple seasons, which is good. They're going to like do a true adaptation. I was talking about this with John too. Just wait. Harry Potter's next. I don't know if it'll be at Amazon, but Harry Potter's next. I'll be very excited to see that too, where you get a true adaptation and you get multiple seasons. Because Lord of the Rings is deep. It is so deep. I know Dennis isn't a fan of the movies. They're probably my favorite trilogy. They are my favorite movies. I watch them again. I love the hell out of them, and they skim the surface of that book. So, yeah, I'm super excited that Amazon's going to put the money behind this. But I'm going to call this right now on the podcast. Legolas will be a girl. I'm joking, but I'm not. And okay. And again, I don't have a problem with this. I'm just going to want to be the one to call it first. Okay. So Legolas will be a girl, and Boromir will be gay. I was going to say it was Gimli will be gay, but it's going to be Boromir. Boromir will be gay.
Samwise.
Samwise. No, I was thinking they would make Frodo a girl too. I think Frodo might be a girl too. It is a bit of a sausage party, Lord of the Rings.
It is. Well, I mean, come on. It's seeped. It's seeped homoeroticism. The book. So I mean, it
definitely. I think Sam. Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think that as long as they didn't, I don't need to see Hobbit sex. But well, shit. Last night we got Klingon sex. That was a first. Did you hear about that? We got.
I did not hear anything about that.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Were there ridges too, or
there were ridges? There were scaly ridges.
Oh my god!
Hey, for a Klingon, she was pretty hot, dude. Gotta say.
Wait, so they're showing nudity on CBS All Access?
Well, I mean, it was body makeup, but yes, they were showing.
Wow.
Sex.
Okay, so that's the reason why
human and Klingon sex, in a flashback sequence. So, and maybe we'll get our first sex in Lord of the Rings. I hope not. I hope they don't make it Game of the Rings. You don't want to do that, because that's not what this book is. I mean, it's pure fantasy. Now you can put in you could put in a gay character, but it wouldn't matter, because there's nothing. Even the relationship in the movies was embellished. It what really didn't happen in the books. The book is about a journey and friendship and the hardship of war and stuff. And addiction. I've always thought that it was a book about addiction too, because Gollum is the ultimate tweaker. He is. So yeah, I can't wait. I freaking cannot wait to see this. We will be podcasting the S out of that show. I love and hate Jeff Bezos. He's too rich. He's got a monopoly, but man, he's doing shit right with his TV. Okay. His streaming network, I like it more than, I don't know. How do you like it more than Netflix?
It doesn't have enough stuff on it. I mean, Netflix is kind of waning now.
It's got way more.
Well, it's got a lot of movies on there, but it doesn't have a lot of TV series, and I think Netflix actually has a lot more of the TV series stuff right now.
It might. I think Hulu gives Netflix a run for money on the TV stuff.
It does, but I haven't.
As far as original TV shows, you're right. Netflix is killing it on original TV shows, but Bezos is coming. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a big deal, dude. That is a.
Oh yeah.
You want to start a streaming network with something? You know what's funny is who owns the rights to freaking Lord of the Rings is Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Why now?
How did they let that go?
You got to remember, Amazon actually has 3 of my favorite TV shows on there right now. It's got The Tick.
Yep.
It's got Jean-Claude Van Johnson, which is
Yep.
hilarious. And then it's also got Comrade Detective.
Yeah, and it's got Man in the White Castle.
Man in the White Castle. I forgot about that. Yeah, that one as well.
It's coming. I mean, like, they are coming. Just give them time. It's just
Man in the High Castle, not in the White Castle.
Man in the White Castle. I say White Castle.
You said White
Dude,
Castle.
that movie's coming, by the way. A Man in the High Castle. And I think they've had to change out their guy due to sexual harassment charges. I think that probably put him behind the 8 ball a little bit.
They fired him. And no, actually, they brought in, I forget what her name is now, but she's now the head of programming. And actually, she's the one that actually was the one who brokered the Lord of the Rings deal.
Yeah, this is a sweet deal. I wonder, well, maybe Warner Brothers doesn't have the rights anymore. Because I know they didn't have the rights to The Hobbit, which MGM owned. But I think it's the Tolkien family who owns the rights. So so the Tolkien estate. Yeah. So that's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. That is something to look forward to. And apparently this is getting fast tracked. Like this is going to be, you're going to see some casting news soon, and probably in production within 2 years, which is great. It's freaking great. Star Wars. So we have not been
Wars, nothing but
Star Wars. We'll never do that again. We promise.
I promise nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is actually good news. This is the first good. We have not been nice to Star Wars here, and because they don't deserve it. I think they've been treating their fans like crap, and they gave us a crappy product with their new trilogy. They just gave us a product. I won't say a crappy product. They gave us a product.
They gave us a pre-manufactured product.
They went into this going, how can we make the most money instead of how can we tell the best story? And they have done damage to the original trilogy. People will argue with me now, but 5 years from now, you will agree with me once your nostalgia has faded off and everything. And I think that's already starting to happen. You will see, like, nobody's going to want Kylo Ren stuff in 40 years. It'll be completely forgotten about. It'll be an embarrassment. But apparently they're going to do like a new trilogy. They're really like what Rian Johnston has done, or I think they more like how he plays ball with them. I don't know about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So this new trilogy, what do you know about it? Is it going to be set in the past, in the future?
No, there's been a lot of speculation that, there's a lot of it's supposed to deal with of the universe, the Star Wars universe, that haven't been explored, whatever that means. That's why I was kind of like, when I read that, I was like, okay, so he's going to do a trilogy, but no one knows what it's going to be about because they don't even know what it's going to be about.
Don't you think the announcement of that is a little weird, like right in the middle of your new trilogy?
Well, yeah, it's because you got to remember, they're throwing everything at the wall right now because they're doing a Han Solo movie. They're doing a Boba Fett solo movie. They're doing an Obi-Wan solo movie. They're doing, aren't they doing a Porg solo movie as well? No.
I hope so. Out of all those, believe it or not, Obi-Wan is the only one I'd be interested in seeing. I don't want to see Boba. I mean, Boba Fett. What the hell's Boba Fett? Are you going to hear somebody mumbling under a mask for 2 hours?
Boba Fett.
He went out like an idiot. It's like Boba Fett is the greatest example of Star. I was part of that back then. I freaking love Boba Fett. But when you think back of like, what did the guy do? He walked around at Empire Strikes Back. Really said a few lines. That's it. He didn't do anything. It was the idea of him that was great. It was the concept. He had a great looking costume that they did zero with.
What is that Disney now that is, they're doing their streaming service, they're talking about reviving that live action Star Wars TV show that Lucas had 50 scripts already done.
Yeah. Some of them written by more.
Exactly. And the person who they should be getting in order to do this is the person right now who's going to be free fairly soon because Star Wars Rebels is ending. Dave Filoni. He was the guy that was in the animated Clone Wars, now in the animated Star Wars Rebels. He understands Star Wars and actually has a feeling for what Star Wars feels like. If you get me on that.
I get it, but that's a big jump from adult drama from cartoon. That's a mighty big jump. That's not a jump that Paul Dini has made yet, which you and I believe he could, but that hasn't happened. It just hasn't.
Worked on Lost. Paul Dini worked on Lost for the
but I mean he hasn't done anything. Well, I don't think that's the best example in the world.
Plus, he's worked on the CW stuff as well. He's working a little.
But he hasn't made the full jump. I wish he would.
Yeah.
I wish he would. I love his stuff, but I think it's a big jump to make. Now, is it people not having faith in that person? I think it's a stigma. I do. I don't think it's fair, but I think it's a thing. I think they see Paul Dini. I think they see the guy you were just talking about, and they go, cartoon, comic book, That's why a lot of comic book writers can't make it in screenwriting, and they're clearly better writers than some of the garbage that we see on television, especially network television. Jesus Christ. That's, I'm not saying that's my opinion of it. I'm saying I think that's what's happening. That almost makes too much sense. So they're not going to do it unless he's a guy who plays ball. Because that's what's more important to Disney with Star Wars is, do you play ball? It's not rather how creative you are. You need to fall in line with what Kathleen Kennedy says. She rules with an iron fist like Kevin Feige, but the biggest difference between her and Kevin Feige is she does stuff in public and he doesn't.
Well, you gotta remember Dave Filoni's been working in the Star Wars properties now for about 10 years.
I remember. Yeah.
So I think he plays ball. So
I would agree. And I said it depends on how much he plays ball, but are you going to use these 50 scripts? Are you going to get Ronald D. Moore? Because I'd rather have Ronald D. Moore than him. I think Ronald D. Moore is awesome. I think he'd be freaking brilliant. I don't know if you can get him though. I don't know if I don't think he'd play well with her. Her being Kathleen Kennedy. I don't have a lot of faith in Star Wars under her. I just don't. Just the axing directors and all that just seems, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way.
It was weird.
It's but actually Star Wars Rebels has been the best thing they've put out. That's pretty clear. I don't think there would be anybody who's a real Star Wars fan who'd argue with that at all. I actually like Clone Wars a little more than I like Rebels, but Rebels is good. Rebels is really good. But I think it's a good idea. I think that's a good start. If I like Rian Johnson, I haven't seen his Last Jedi yet, so I don't want to judge it. I liked what the hell was the Looper? Was the movie he did?
Looper.
Yeah, I love that movie. So even with the wonky ending, I loved it. I thought it was really stylistically done very well. So I let's give him a shot. If he goes to a dark corner of the universe that where things are done completely differently and it's not tied to the Empire or anything, and it's a big galaxy, it's a big universe, that could be fun. It could be a lot of fun. This is where it's going to be tested though, right, Dennis? I mean, this is where the Star Wars brand is going to be tested. This is the first time you're going to be stepping. Well, this is if they step away from this whole Skywalker Darth Vader thing. They could. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do a Darth Vader trilogy. Would you?
Again.
But I'm telling you, do you not disagree? Okay, I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm saying, would you be surprised?
Disagree. I wouldn't be surprised. No, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced it. It would be stupid of them to do it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Han Solo
movie
after you kill him is pretty much the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah.
All you're going to be reminded of is his son killed him for 2 hours. That's all I see when I see Han Solo. Han Solo is ruined for me forever. Thank you, Disney. And they damn near ruined Indiana Jones too. Damn near, but didn't.
They still have some more.
I know remember all the rumors, they want Darth Vader back somehow. They somehow want, because for one, you don't need to cast an actor that's well known, and it's their brand. I mean, what do you see when you see Star Wars? The first thing I see is the Darth Vader mask. Then there's a Death Star or an X-Wing fighter or a TIE fighter or a Stormtrooper. but like when you think of it as a brand, I think Darth Vader, and I know they want that back somehow, some way. I think they're going to remake the original trilogy too. Don't put that out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about that, and I agree with you on that one.
They really want to do it. And believe me, when things start slowing down, that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. The only different way you can do that, I'll pitch this to him right now. You want to remake the original trilogy? Television show.
All nude.
All nude television show. No, make it a television show. Being serious, expand it out. Like, did you listen to the radio broadcasts, right? That were on PBS?
Long time ago.
Those were great. Those were just great. If you haven't listened to the Star Wars radio broadcast, they used to come on PBS radio back in the early 80s. They had Anthony Daniels. They had different people voicing it, and it was done at USC. George Lucas gave it, because it was his alma mater, gave it to USC for free to produce. I think for free. I think he paid for all of it, and they are magnificent, and it really fleshes out the story. It gets down to like, like the beginning for Return of the Jedi that they were supposed to put in and never did, which like I cannot believe they didn't, was Luke putting his lightsaber together for the first time, like making it. That's when he becomes a Jedi. That's the moment you become a Jedi, is when you can put a lightsaber together, make a lightsaber.
Because you use the Force. You use the Force in order to put it together.
So that like the scenes like that are in. All the big scenes are in. It's fucking wonderful, man.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny. They use that whole scene about Luke putting together in Clone Wars.
Yeah, see, it's like they do it in the animated stuff, which like I tell you, do you know what rubs me wrong about, like, I love the storytelling in Rebels and Clone Wars, is I don't like that animation that much.
The animation is rough. Yeah, I agree with you. Coming from an animation background, like I look at animation and all that stuff. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, and honestly, a lot of the animation itself sometimes is really bad. Aaron, my old roommate there, I think it was the first season of Rebels. We were watching it. I was like, God damn. I looked at it and he's like, what? And I rewound this one part of the DVR and I'm like, see that leg right there that's twitching? You could see this one character that was in the foreground is walking by and the legs started doing this. It was just twitching like that. I said, you don't think they couldn't have caught that in post? It was just someone who just didn't clean up their lines. Yeah. And he looked at it and he's like, now I can't unsee it. I'm like, I'm sorry.
You can't unsee it.
That's what I see all the time.
And I know what they were based on. They were based on like wooden figures. Like they had it's like, why would you do that? Especially, I don't think they expected it to be as big of a hit as it was. I mean, I went and saw that Clone Wars when it premiered in the theater.
Yeah, I was with you when we came out.
And yeah, I just thought it was like a one-off. You know what I mean? I guess they knew they were going to do the series, but I wish they would have made it a little more realistic. That's all. And they have great animators at Disney, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, they do.
So I don't know. But if you make the original trilogy as a TV series and just expand the crap out of it, like go to Alderaan, learn the politics from there, and like do like 3 seasons would be A New Hope, 3 seasons in Empire Strikes Back, 3 seasons Return of the Jedi, like 10 episode seasons. That would be the shit. I would watch that like crazy, and I would accept that as a remake because you're doing something absolutely different. If you just go and remake the movies, lame sauce. But yeah, I think that would be fun. And for the rest of the podcast, you're stuck with little old me. We still got a couple more subjects to do. One of them is a pretty big one. In relation to Brian Michael Bendis leaving DC, Axel Alonso has been canned as Marvel editor-in-chief. Now, this again is not a surprise. A lot of people saw this coming. It had everything to do with the numbers. Now, I know there's a lot of talk out there about the YouTubers, who many of them I watch and follow, having something to do with this, and I would say they definitely did. I think they brought a lot of this stuff to light. I don't think Disney/Marvel was happy about it at all. But if Axel had numbers to support anything he was doing, this wouldn't have happened at all. Now, Axel came on in 2011 when I still owned the Comic Outpost. and business was booming for Marvel. Marvel was dominating DC. Look, Image was doing great. There was a speculator market going on with Image books that was making things really hot at the time. And there was the Scotty Young variants that were just flying off the shelf in my store. So it was good times. His reign started with Avengers versus X-Men, which story-wise wasn't that great. Had beautiful art. It was very incoherent. A great concept that just kind of fell apart at the end. And you could kind of see where things were going from there. They followed it up with Marvel now. Now, again, Avengers versus X-Men flew off my shelves. I was ordering more of this book than I ever have of anything in the past. I had ordered 1,000 copies of Avengers versus X-Men 1 and sold out for my store. That is pretty incredible considering I had about 330 subscribers at the time. And it sold pretty much to everybody. That was one of the few books that almost everybody, except for the hardcore DC guys and then the few people who just didn't like superhero books, got. Again, lots of variants with that, and it just emboldened the whole let's keep the crossover events thing going. And it was hard to argue with that because it was selling so damn well. To make a long story short, Axel had a great start, okay? But he was kind of riding the coattails of Joe Quesada a little bit, plus it was inflated due to the speculation market and all the event sales. Now that kind of put him behind the 8 ball, and you have to achieve those numbers every year, and that just wasn't going to happen just through attrition. Now, what also happened is I think a lot of this stuff went to people's heads, and they got a little crazy on social media, and that is a thing. That needs to be reined in quite a bit, especially when you're a creative, because you're wearing your company's uniform all the time. So when you're arguing with fans, and we've talked about this in the podcast, it just doesn't help. So Axel got fired. Why did he get fired? Bad numbers, arguing with fans, and some YouTubers. Some YouTubers put a microscope on this, and you can't tell me Disney didn't notice. One of these YouTubers, I saw him gain like 20,000 subscribers in the course of 3 or 4 months. Like his whole channel went viral. That's diversity in comics. Now, love or hate him, the guy knows how to YouTube. Okay. And I respect him for it. And this all carried over, I guess, from Twitter. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter anymore. Twitter's a time suck and a creative suck. And I think that really is part of why Axel is gone too. But I saw this was happening way before any of this was happening. The people were getting political. This is nothing new. They were getting political on Twitter. It just was hidden with success. Now that, the numbers have fell, it really got exposed like, hey, your book's late. Why are you on Twitter all the time? I'm not going to point anybody out, but you know who they are. Listen, the creators really can come off pretty bad on Twitter, and so can the critics. And I listen to the critics' videos, and they sound like normal people. And you know what? I know some of these creators, and they're normal people. I think people just get a little crazy on Twitter. I did too. I had to quit because I had friends telling me, dude, you're getting way too chippy on Twitter and you own a business. And I had my wife tell me that too. So I backed the hell off. So I've done it. Okay. And that could have cost me customers. I'm glad it didn't. So this is a good thing. I hope it's not too late because I want to open a comic store next year. Cat's out of the bag. And that's the reason I had found all these YouTubers, because I was kind of diving in to see what was going on in the industry. I'd given up comics for a couple years, and now I've got my ear to the ground. I'm talking to other retailers, and it's getting scary here in the Bay Area. There's 4 shops that are either up for sale or on their way out. That's 4 shops. That's bad. When I started retailing in 2002, 2003, there was 3,000 shops. There's less than 2,000 now. This is not good. The industry goes how Marvel goes, and Disney, I was always worried about the comics under your reign, and so far it's turning out the way I thought it would, which sucks. I hate being right about this. And I want things to turn around. I really do. And they can, but Marvel, you've got a ton of work to do. I hope you are willing to do it. I wish DC could carry the industry because their stuff is so damn good right now. And this is the first time I'm reading more DC than Marvel in my entire life. And I'm not the only one who said that stuff. So, yeah. And as far as politics and comics, they're always going to be there, but treat them like The Punisher did. The Punisher that just dropped, which is really, really good. I highly recommend it. Dealt with it, in my opinion, perfectly. Final word on this. Poor Axel did this to himself. I'm sorry to say. You got to rein in your employees when they're running amok on Twitter, not paying attention to their work. Editorial went down, storytelling went down, art went down, and the numbers went down. And then you went down, Axel. So I'm sorry that happened to you. I wish you luck in the future. Congratulations to CB Cebulski. We'll see what you can do in 6 months if the industry survives. If the industry survives. We broke a tradition with this podcast and did not start it out with a death like we always do, so we will end it with one. Charles Manson has died at the age of 83. Good. That wraps it up for episode 110. Please go to nerdrotic.com. That's where you can find all of our audio and video podcasts. Please go to the Nerdrotic channel, our YouTube channel, and subscribe. And also don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. I have a Twitter. It's at Nerdrotics. My co-host Dennis has one. It's at DeForce. And my co-host John Reed has one. It's at JohnReed16. We are recapping currently The Gifted, The Runaways, and Mr. Robot. We have a Punisher review to come up, and we are going to go weekly with our news podcast, which will be airing Saturday evenings live on the Nerdrotic channel. I hope you join us and we can make it an interactive affair. So, for Dennis and for John, may the small folk sing songs of your greatness.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.